Mayday, here. 82, we have smoke in the cabin.
Channel 72, contact, pilot maintain.
Good evening and welcome to the September 2025 transmission of Galactic Terrors, the online reading series that scours the known universe for scary stories, strange tales, weird horror, and all sorts of literary oddities from the most imaginative authors writing in a variety of fascinating genres. Tonight we have three fantastic readers lined up for you: NICK MAMATAS, James Ryan, and PAULA CAPPA. And I am James Chambers, and with me is co-host Carol Gyzander.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. And I hope you all appreciate the beautiful green glow I have. I got a new green screen, but look, I can be very eerie. I'll be tweaking this a little bit, maybe another day.
You're an X-file waiting to happen, Carol.
Yes. Cool. Oh, my goodness. Well, if you happen to be watching us on YouTube, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel and like the broadcast. That helps us be seen in more places, and we always appreciate that.
Yeah, you can also sign up for our Galactic Terrors newsletter, and we'll put that link in the chat shortly. We do not spam you. That goes out, I think, twice between broadcasts, just to announce the upcoming show, and then a second time closer to the day to remind you that we're coming on the air.
Yes.
So feel free to sign up for that. You can get lots of good information about our readers in that newsletter too. And if you miss either of those, you can always just remember that with the exception of our October show coming up, we are on every second Thursday of the month at 8 p.m. And you can just come on, drop in unannounced. We're cool that way.
Yeah, it's nice when people stop by and visit.
Yes,
we appreciate that.
So, Carol, I think we had some interesting news here in the local horror community recently with a brand new bookstore dedicated to horror opening up.
New York City's first bookstore for horror and dark literature, the Twisted Spine Bookshop. They're in Brooklyn at 306 Grand Street, and I was so excited. I got to go to their very first, they just opened like last weekend. They've had pop-up shops all around the city, but I got to go to their very first author presentation with Clay McLeod Chapman, who is a wonderful presenter and lively and exciting and a great author and stuff. So it was a lot of fun. The store itself is a wonderfully dark setting, and they have a nice bar in the store for beverages and things as well. So it was just a lot of fun. I saw a lot of fun people. It was easy to get to from public transportation and such, and I had a great time. But the other thing I'll just hint, I mentioned Clay McLeod Chapman, he's going to be on Galactic Terrors in October, so we'll tell you more about that later.
Yes. And if you've ever seen Clay read or heard him read, it is not a dull experience at all. He's also occasionally lively as an Yes, and he may break out into song.
He broke out into Baby Carrots this time. So.
Oh gosh. Well, I heard that the inventory or the stock at the store is really outstanding. That they had some. Someone said deep cuts of horror and some great books.
Yeah, it was really terrific to see a lot of our friends and a lot of the people we know there. And they had my book and had already sold it by the time I got there, which is cool. I appreciated that. But there were so many interesting books, and they have it nicely divided up by sections, by YA and by short stories and different topics. So I could have just stood there and browsed and gone home with a car full of things. But I will just save it for when I go back again.
That's it.
I only
Yeah.
got 2 books this time.
What? Just 2 books? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Oh well, I'll have to do better or worse next time.
Well, you've got plenty of time to stock up. I see here you have in our notes there are 50 days until Halloween.
Yes, this is the time. We need to pay attention to these things at this time of year because we don't want anything to get away from us. So, yeah.
I think all of us horror writers are going to be very busy for the next 6 weeks or so. Really having fun with it.
Yeah. Now we're here in the New York area, but for those who are up in Massachusetts, in Framingham, there's the Spooktastic Book Fair, which is coming up this coming Saturday on the 13th. There's over 60 different horror authors, and I'll put the link in the chat there as well for those who are in that area and potentially interested, because there's a lot of great folks there as well. So that's cool.
Yeah, well, I beat you to it.
Oh, you got it? Good.
And I'm going to too, because they do have a website you can check out.
Good.
And, all very good.
Yeah.
One more link I'll throw up there before we get to the good stuff is the link for our newsletter. So please go ahead and sign up or like and subscribe. I'm not sure that liking and subscribing still supercharges the internet, but you never know. Try it out. Like and subscribe and see if your internet runs faster after you do so.
Yeah, and the more people who like and subscribe, the more green glow I get around my hair. It's wonderful.
Awesome. So what do you think? Shall we move on to our readings?
I think that would be really fun because I'm excited to hear some of these stories. We've got 3 different kinds of stories tonight, so that's very cool. Our first author is NICK MAMATAS. He's the author of several novels, over 100 short stories, and many essays and articles. His novels include I Am Providence and The Second Shooter. His short fiction has appeared in Best American Mystery Stories, Asimov Science Fiction, Tor.com, and many other venues. Much of it was recently collected in The People's Republic of Everything. Well, Nick is also an anthologist. His latest book is 120 Murders, dark fiction inspired by alternative music. His latest novel, Kalivas or Another Tempest, will be published in September of 2025. And more info about Nick at nick-mamatas.com. Nick?
Hey everyone, thanks for coming. It was great to hear that introduction about all the fantastic readers, of which I am not one. I'm a terrible reader. I don't know why I put myself through this sort of thing, actually. So I just want to talk a little bit about Kalivas, my latest novel coming out in a couple weeks. It is a revision of The Tempest, my favorite Shakespeare play. And I've always liked that play for 2 reasons. Well, 3 reasons. One is a simple one for people who like horror and fantasy. It's very magical. It's a magical play with the fairies and spells and summon storms and a wizard, essentially. But the major reasons are, one, it is an anti-story, right? If you don't know, and you probably do, it's about Prospero, an exiled duke who is exiled to this island with his daughter. On this island, he finds a wild man, Caliban, and a spirit named Ariel, who he sort of controls and tames, and biding his time until he can create a tempest and summon his enemies to the island by arranging where their ship to crash. And then he will have his revenge. And then at the end of the play, he doesn't have his revenge. He's not thwarted. He's not stopped. He's barely even convinced. He just decides in a sheer peak of humanity to change his mind after a small appeal from Ariel, the fairy. And that's sort of an amazing thing to do in a play or any kind of story, building something up and then saying no, and still having a masterpiece at the end. The other interesting thing, or that I like the best, is Caliban, the character, the wild man, who it was his island first. His mother had brought him there, had given birth to him there as a child, and she passed away. She was a great sorceress. He grew up uneducated, but he's not uneducated. He speaks just like a Shakespearean character, right? Shakespeare did not write him grunting or being unable to articulate complex thoughts and ideas, but he's just treated by the other characters as this inferior being, even though he really isn't. So this is what sort of inspired Kalivas, It focuses on the Caliban character named Kalivas, which is a Greek last name from Kaliva, which is hut. So somebody who is a Kalivas, you might say, lives in a hut. And it's set in the future where Kalivas is the last free-range human on Earth. And everyone else in the book and the few thousand people that are left on Earth, maybe 10, 20,000, are post-human. They're cyborgs, essentially, with integrated technology. So they're far superior to him. And then the plot of the play happens. So he's on the island. He helps the prosperous one, as he's called in this book, raise his daughter M. A tempest occurs. People from the mainland are brought to this island, and the great scene of the mask, which is sort of what they would call a masquerade or a big ball at the time, happens. And so I'm going to read you a little bit from that, a very little bit from that. So there'll be plenty of time for Q&A or for the other two readers. All right. One last thing you need to know at this point, Kalivas has encountered a kind of drone, sort of a small, round orb, looks like an eye with tentacles. You can imagine it. There's probably from a million movies. He says, "The drone remained still. Silence equals consent, at least in matters of state. So I let go of the sheet. The drone scuttled free of it and did not run away and did not reach out to entangle my ankles. So I explained what we must do. I was the only man on the island to have a beard. Even the master was clean-shaven despite his age and power. Pornographies had taught me that wise men, aged rulers, and wizards often sported facial hair. But the prosperous one and Anthony had forsaken this look. The two younger men preferred thin mustaches much like caterpillars. I had only ever rarely let my gaze drift toward the master's visage, as this was his implicit demand, and I only had eyes for M. The drone detached one of its smaller tentacles, and I utilized the blade of one of its pincers to shave off some of my whiskers, which I then plastered with a bit of mud to the front of the drone's orb body, or at least a section of it which was facing me. With the sticks that I had collected and stripped of bark to reveal a wet white wood underneath, I fashioned a crown by tying them to my head with a scrap of the sheet. I wrapped a tentacle around my wrist and palm, an approximation of the silvery circles the immortal interlopers sport on their hands. I tied the rest of the sheet around the drone's body. The sheet was soiled and torn, just as my tunic was, and it had been the same color originally. Well, there we are, little drone, I said to it when I was done. We're in costume. I'm the master, and you're a Kalivas. Let's practice. I held out my right hand, and the drone bent the joints of its remaining limbs and shivered in a bit of an approximation of how I cowered and trembled before the wrath of the old prosperous one. Convincing. We're sure to be a hit. The lighthouse was fully illuminated, from outside and in. The lens had been removed in prelapsarian days, but several large drones were in the lantern room, glowing and spilling light of all colors down onto the small cement checkerboard platform where the party was being held. Elements of my hoop house had been turned into a sort of pool. The hoops first flattened, then extended on either end, and the sheeting restretched over them. The light was such that I could only see the 5 revelers in silhouette as they splashed about in some sort of viscous substance, the consistency of an egg yolk. The party ignored me, even when I got close enough to make out their activities and their features. They were naked, all of them, oiled like wrestlers. The master, thin and wiry and burnt red and brown like the rusted metal of my hoop house. Anthony broad with a carpet of silvery back hair. He could have been a seal masturbating against a rock. The younger generation was all entangled, slipping and sliding and grabbing great handfuls of the yolk from the surface of the pool or from one another's bodies and swallowing it. Naturally, my gaze settled on M. Her naked body was the sort I'd never seen outside of my screen in its pornographies. Mats of hair were splattered against her armpits, the delta of her legs, and her shins, though the curls on her head were strong enough to hold their shape, though the liquid dripped off the ends. She sensed me watching her and stood up onto a low squat to peer at me. The 4 men continued in their splashing about, Ferdy sliding some of the fluid into the crack of his buttocks, his member huge and swinging. I looked away to the master rubbing his bald spot, Stefano sucking his fingers clean, and Anthony sitting in the pool cross-legged and smacking the liquid with both palms. "Hello," I said. I held aloft the arm I had decorated with a drone coil. I looked down at the drone and told it to bow to the master and to M, but it did not. "I'm here for the party." They continued to peer at me, the 5 of them, M glistening and sleek like a dolphin breaking the waves, the others mere rocks jetting out to the sea. I was led to understand this party would be a mask of some sort, a costume party, I called out. I apologize if I misunderstood. I've not been invited to many parties over the course of my life. Here we go. If you want to find out what happens, you know how the Tempest works.
Thank you so much, Nick. So I apologize. I had no idea that you didn't enjoy reading.
Oh, no, it's don't worry about it. I have to do it. I don't enjoy writing either, but here I am.
Well, okay, so at least you're consistent.
That's right. And editing this stuff, also terrible. Promotions, awful.
Oh my gosh.
Seeing your book on a shelf in a store, nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
Not seeing it there, worse.
Yeah, that's
It's
true.
all terrible. But
I'd rather have the seeing it there anxiety than the not seeing it there.
That's right.
Anxiety.
The only way to win is to see somebody buying it while you're there and telling the cashier, "Oh, I've been waiting for this one."
Do you haunt the bookstores waiting for that moment?
It's been known to happen. I used to work in a bookstore when my last two books came out. I was working in a bookstore, and I would occasionally kind of just poke around. And the bio mentioned the People's Republic of Everything, which was on the big front of the room dump of books back when I was working at the store. And when somebody look at it, I'd say, turn to the back. They're very handsome author photo.
Yeah.
And they'd notice that it was me. Then more often than not, they would buy it out of pity.
Well, that's a good sales tactic as long as they buy it. Yeah. I can imagine, though, sitting there in the store watching it not move off the shelf could be damaging.
That's what I try to get one of my coworkers to write a little shelf talker for it or move it around.
Well, I have a question for you in general about your writing. So you're talking about Kalivas being derived from a Greek word, and you're of Greek heritage, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Does that influence a lot of your writing?
It does, absolutely. Many often Greek characters show up or Greek terms show up. Although I'm not part of the recent trend of people retelling Greek myths. Which are almost always from Anglo authors, some of whom have famously announced, "I never even read the Odyssey before I wrote this book." But it's part of. I also write about New York a lot.
Yeah.
Not in New York now, but I am a New Yorker, so many of my stories take place in New York. And now that I'm in California for 15, 16 years, I'm just beginning to write about California. Kalivas, I think, is the third book of mine that takes place in California.
Okay. So you've been there long enough to kind of soak in the environment and
exactly
process it.
I go to the Farallon Islands, which are real islands. They were inhabited by the natives, and then they were a scientific outpost. That's why there's a lighthouse there. But they're uninhabited now, and you can't really land on them unless you're a scientist. You have to. It's a bird sanctuary and a wildlife preserve. And I heard it was extremely choppy weather at all times. Huge waves. You'd have to take Dramamine. You'd puke on the boat. And so I was really worried when I was writing the book because I have to get them to this island. And the book begins with Kalivas' mother swimming there, pulling a bunch of rowboats like Jack LaLanne used to do around the Brooklyn Bridge.
Yeah.
You remember. And it just, even though she was opposed to him, it didn't seem possible. But then just last year, a woman who is in my age, in her early 50s, did the swim.
Oh, okay.
It became possible. I sort of predicted it would happen.
That's great. And somebody comes along and gives plausibility to your fiction.
Yeah.
Well, we have a question from Nicholas Dyack.
Of course you do. Hi, Nick Dyack. How are you?
Written Sabbath, if you could impart any wisdom to the filmmakers behind the upcoming Highlander remake, what would it be?
So Sabbath, for those who don't know, and that should be almost everyone, because that book did not do well, is a book I wrote for Tor Books. Turns out big press, small press, doesn't really matter. Which is based very loosely on a comic book and very closely on a treatment I was given. It is about a 11th century knight who is brought to modern era to chop off the heads of the 7 deadly sins before they destroy the world. It takes place in New York, of course.
Okay. Yep.
And so it's broadly similar to Highlander. It's Highlander meets Seven was the log line. For me, it was Ash versus the Evil Dead meets Xena Warrior Princess, but I couldn't tell them that. So what I would do is, for the remake, is, of course, in addition to ignoring everything that happened after the first film, the explanations of aliens and this kind of thing, I would have a character who tries to cut off the heads of the other immortals via bazooka. That'd do it.
Okay.
That'd solve a lot of problems. And it could be a fun scene.
Yeah.
If you get them, you win. If you don't, it's hard to reload a bazooka.
Are you a Highlander fan?
Yeah, I love that movie. I loved it when I was a kid, and I sat through the second film. I think I watched some of the TV show, which was also one of my first forays into fandom. I started going to science fiction and fantasy conventions at that time. This was the era when fan fiction was still available for sale before it got online, and sort of spiral bound notebooks that people would sort of generate and just sell for $5, semi or perhaps illegally. I'm not a lawyer. And you'd see these sort of line drawings of these naked characters bent over each other, and I thought, wow, I like science fiction conventions.
Oh, so they were illuminated manuscripts.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, that's great. Well, tell us a little bit about your most recent anthology, 120 Murders.
Yeah.
We mentioned that you're also an editor, and I know this came out earlier this year.
Mm-hmm.
What was the inspiration behind doing a book of stories inspired by alternative music?
There's a kind of trend, mostly in crime fiction, for this sort of thing,
Okay.
but focused very narrowly. A friend of mine, Joe Clifford, sort of launched this subgenre with books about inspired by the work of Bruce Springsteen, and it's gone on to Wu-Tang Clan, Steely Dan, Warren Zevon. I'm in the Warren Zevon one. I liked it, but they're often by very small presses, so I thought there was going to be room for a bigger press to do it. As it turns out, no. But this small press, unlike many small presses, is run by a fellow by the name of Richard B. Wood, who actually has money and business sense. And so I chose alternative music because it's so broad. It is multi-genre. What's alternative music? Synth pop, yes. Guitar-driven rock, yes. Weird novelty songs, yes. Jangly folk pop, yes. Power punk, yes. Goth, yes. So there's something for everyone, and every kind of story can be told via these, different genres, subgenres of music. Plus, I'm very old. People say, I love music. What do they mean when they love music? Sometimes they mean they go out all the time to listen to music and they have a huge collection. But mostly they mean, I liked 7 songs when I was 16 years old and they're still great. And I am definitely that latter group.
Okay.
I often write to music. Oh, what should I listen to today? What amazing things should I find on YouTube today? The Cure singles. Perfect.
Right.
And it turns out a lot of people are like that. So I got a lot of great writers: Sylvia Marino Garcia, Paula Tremblay, Meg Gardner, from different genres. There are crime writers, horror writers, other multi-genre writers like Molly Tanzer, who's done horror and fantasy and science fiction. And a lot of readers are our age or my age. I don't know how you might be 27, 28, James. Yes.
Sure, I'll take it. Yeah. You can ask me for my ID if I order a drink later.
And so those are the people who read crime and horror fiction.
Yeah.
Especially short crime and horror fiction. So it's aiming for an audience and hitting it.
That's great. Yeah. And it's an interesting source of story ideas too, especially to pick a genre. I've seen a lot of those anthologies that come out as tributes to a particular band.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of cool. I always wonder just how risky it is associating something with the name of a band, if they're not happy about it. But so this seemed like a safer approach. We're doing a genre. It doesn't have to be a particular artist.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think something that flies under the radar.
Yeah.
And also for this particular set of genres, these really are represents the last songs you could hear on the radio that might make you feel sad.
No.
Or upset or angry, as opposed to, pop music now is all about feeling good, feeling acquisitive at the very least. I can get many of these things the way you got many of these things, or feeling groovy, which are all powerful things to feel, don't get me wrong. But there's a diversity of emotional content in this music that is now, I find anyway, lacking in contemporary radio music.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think especially, and you probably know this being from the same area where I live on Long Island, essentially, that New York rock radio is very, very well entrenched in that 7 songs model.
Absolutely, yes. I wrote a story that's not in the book that's related to the book, though, because you can't really put your own story technology. It looks terrible. But I am famous enough that a few hundred people wanted that. So our solution was that I would write a story, and if you bought the book from Ruadon, who is the publisher, they would email you my story in the receipt.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and my story is a tribute not to any band or song, but to WLIR, the very famous, world famous radio station that sort of founded, along with K-Rock in LA, alternative music for the non-college radio set. It was the first sort of commercial new wave alternatives radio station, and this is not their first story written about it. Their entire book's written about it.
Yeah,
novels.
Yeah,
And,
well, radio has this horrible process of switching formats overnight with no warning.
oh, sure.
I remember LIR became DRE, then went back to LIR, and then one morning I used to have it set as my alarm. It would come on, the radio would come on, and one morning it came on and it was Spanish news.
Yep.
And that was it. There was no more LIR, no more DRE.
Oh, sure. And WRCN was a great station for a while there. They had a really open playlist, and when I got into college, actually, it must be 1990, they cut that playlist in half.
Yeah.
What was the New York K-Rock 92.3 was a hard rock AOR station. Then it became classic rock. That just means we're never playing on a new song again.
Yeah.
So music is over.
When they were hard rock, they were good. They played a lot of different stuff, introduced a lot of new music. But we do have a question from Horror Words Podcast. What are your 7 songs?
Is that your real name? What are my 7 songs? Oh gosh, my 7 songs are. I messed this up, didn't I? Let's see. 7 songs are The Forest by The Cure, Sheila Take a Bow, The Smiths, Something to Believe in, The Ramones, Sneaker Pimps, Underground. What else is do I love so much? I'm going to throw in one rap song, perhaps. Fight the Power.
Sure.
By Public Enemy, which I love because I was one of the few people who went to go see them at Carnegie Hall with Sisters of Mercy.
Oh, wow.
Yes. It was an empty, I could have had 5 seats. And their encore was them getting together to do that song as a duet. And the T-shirt for the tour was, it's a black thing you wouldn't understand, representing both the African-American, themes of Public Enemy and the Black Goth of Sisters of Mercy. And I'll finish Corrosion, that's 6. And what is my 7th song?
A helpful suggestion from Jonathan Lees. Debaser by the Pixies, by chance?
Oh, no, it's Where's My Mind by the Pixies, but good. Very good, thank you. Yeah. In fact, my intro to the book is Where's My Mind?
Oh, okay. Because
why would I do this? I also hate editing anthologies in addition to reading and writing and selling books.
Yeah. So what's since you enjoy it so little, what is your editing process like when you do an anthology?
I mostly invite people, but I'm open to queries because I am a professional. And I find people say, don't you dare query me. How dare you heard of this? I find that unprofessional. I'm always open to somebody pitching something or trying something. And of course, you ask many more people than you can have because people won't do it. They'll just forget or get a better offer or something. And I spend a fair amount of time editing. I edit very closely. For this book, for example, I grabbed an axe and swung it around my room to see if a scene where somebody grabs an axe and swung it around their room to kill somebody makes sense. And he made a change.
Okay.
One author mentioned a certain Delia's catalog. Delia's is a women's clothing outfit that's popular in the 90s. She mentioned a certain catalog and a certain dress, and I went to the Internet Archive and looked it up and to make sure she got the dress right, and she did.
Good.
So we both do it. And then I spent a lot of time juggling the order of stories, even though as a reader, I never read stories in order in an anthology or collection. I always read the shortest, then the longest, then for my favorites, then I finish it one day.
Got it.
I spent a lot of time making sure there are no 2 first-person stories in a row. Or the themes are very different and short and long, and you want a very powerful one up front and a very long, deep one in the back to anchor the book. And then I make sure that there are very few stories that end with one-sentence paragraphs, because that's the cheapest trick on earth. If you're writers out there, go through your own stories that you've published or trying to publish. You see, using that all the time, just take that last sentence and put it in the previous paragraph. Yes, it'll change things, but it'll make things better because you're not doing a cheap trick. So those are my main go-to things. And of course, it just depends on the individual stories that I receive and how I... and the individual author. Some authors are like, sure, do whatever you want. Other authors are, wait a minute. I see you changed a word here.
Let's talk about that comma.
Every comma, yes, every comma. Okay.
So, well, you have 120 Murders came out earlier this year, and Kalivas is out this month. What can we look forward to? Do you have anything new on the horizon or any events or appearances coming up?
A bunch of short fiction and things are coming out. I have a story called The Shank of the Evening and Unidentified Funny Objects, Volume 10. So this is the 10th volume by Alex Schwartzman, another New Yorker.
Yep.
Who does humorous science fiction. And mine is about online dating, which is something I don't have tons of experience with, and street violence, which I do. So very funny stuff there, I imagine. I have a noir comic strip coming out called The 21-Foot Rule, which anyone in law enforcement knows about, and anyone who's anti-law enforcement like me knows it's fake. It basically says that a knife can beat a gun in 21 feet. So if you have a gun and I have a knife, I'm going to win, unless I'm 22 feet away. This is what is used by police to justify shooting people. Okay. Oh, I thought he had a knife. Well, why'd you shoot him? He was within 21 feet. Now, it is true that a knife can beat a gun sometimes, don't get me wrong. And so it's a comic book, a short in the forthcoming anthology of comics called Perfect Crime Party. That'll come out soon. And I have a story called Emergency Contact, which is about how much I hate AI and we should be merciless toward them. And the cuter AI become, and the more whimsical they appear, we should even be more merciless, because that's how they try to control us, by making them seem friendly and nice.
Yeah.
And that'll be in a anthology called Please Fail to Destroy Me, or You May Now Fail to Destroy Me, which is sort of a rapid response, semi-political anthology put out by Blake Butler, the avant-garde novelist. And that'll be coming out later this year.
Terrific. So you're keeping busy.
Yeah. I hate writing short stories the least. Of all my activities, the short story I dislike the least.
That's good to know. Well, I know you can't stay with us for the full broadcast tonight, but thank you for coming on. We're going to we'll say goodnight to you now, and if you have any last parting words for our audience.
Thanks for having me here, James. And
what's that?
Thanks so much for having me here. Thanks so much to the people who had to sit through my short little reading. I promise you can read it better than I can, so buy the book. And I'm really sorry I can't stick around for the next two readers, but this is a very busy evening for some reason. You wouldn't think Thursday, September 11th would be, but this is the time.
So what is the other podcast that you're doing? Can you say?
Oh, sure. It's a Ruadan Books podcast about 120 murders. So I'll be there with 6 of the contributors. Right. And it's not competition. You're all going to watch this the next day.
Yeah. So so if people go to the Ruadan Books website, they'll be able to get that podcast.
Absolutely. Yeah. You can't get enough of me online. Yes. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Thanks, Nick. Take care. All right. Thank you all. Our next reader is James Ryan. And there we go. James Ryan has published the novels Raging Gale, Red Jenny and the Pirates of Buffalo, and Statues to Silence, a collection of stories from rooftop sessions entitled All Together Now, and the monograph The Pirates of New York. His recent stories have appeared in the anthologies Gabba Gabba Hey, Trees, The Fans Are Buried Tales, Conspiracies and Cryptids Volume 1, Ruth and Ann's Guide to Time Travel Volume 1, and Dragon Mythicana. His column Fantasia Obscura, about obscure older fantastic films in their modern context, runs at Forces of Geek, and his links can be reached through Linktree J. Dan Ryan. Welcome, James.
Hi, folks. Thanks for showing up. I'm going to be reading here an excerpt from Statues to Silence, my novel set in the North Country, where women from the small college and town it's in are disappearing, turned to stone by a monster in the woods. The book follows our hero, Eloise Guerrero, who is finding clues that suggest that this may be what's happening to the victims who have disappeared. But at this point in the story, she's not quite ready to accept that. You're still up too? Jennifer asked Eloise as she came out into the lounge area. Sunrise was hours away as she stared out the large picture window. I don't know, said Eloise. Do you want to talk about it? Do you ever come to believe something that's just out there? I'm not sure I understand. It's a question about belief. My beliefs? No, and sorry if it sounded like I was getting into religion. I started to think something that's just got to be crazy. What was that? Eloise took a breath and said, I thought for a while that everyone who's missing was turned to stone. Go on. I saw this collection of little statues that looked like animals, perfect, life-size, and there were clothes from the missing girls that looked like they were cut off their bodies because they couldn't move anymore. And I don't want to go crazy, and I'm thinking I just might be. Jennifer nodded. Is this something you needed to see someone about? Someone from counseling services? Well, I've been seeing an analyst since I was 15. Still see her when it gets really crazy, which I don't know if this is or not. The last few days, I was talking myself into something I just know can't be true, and then I try to walk it back. But something keeps making me think it might be. Something on a deeper level, but that just can't be true. And that's why you're up at this hour then. I saw this before I tried to go to bed, and it just set me off. Eloise handed her phone to Jennifer, with a story from the news site open for reading. Police halt auction as part of cold case from the 1940s. An auction in Los Angeles was postponed when police showed up, following a tip that a statue might hold clues to a case involving a disappearance from the 1940s. Detectives from the Los Angeles Police Department arrived at the Spiker auction house just as the piece of art was scheduled to be bid on that day, confiscating the statue and removing it. No one had been on the statue before the police arrived. According to an LAPD liaison officer, the department received a tip that the life-size statue of a nude woman bore a near-perfect resemblance to Sophie Perdue, a woman reported missing in 1948 but never found. Police took the statue into their possession as they tracked down its history to see if that could provide clues to Perdue's fate. We hope that as we get into the history of this artwork, that this will lead us to Miss Perdue, the LAPD statement read. Jennifer nodded as she handed Eloise back her phone. That's a freaky coincidence. Is it? It must be, but something's this after going back and forth between thinking that I have no idea what to believe anymore. And it's doing things to my head, things I can see going on, but I can't believe. I'm conscious of this, but I can't shut up about my gut suggesting. Do you think that maybe you can call your analyst tomorrow when she's awake? I sent her a text a few hours ago. Hopefully she can talk to me tomorrow. I hope she does. I've had to see a counselor since Olivia disappeared. And between that and early morning prayer for her, that's helping me deal with this. You're seeing a counselor, but I always tried not to say what was on her mind. Jennifer gave a slight smile. My father told me an old joke about a devout man who got very sick. He'd walk past the hospital on his way to church every day, praying for a cure, even as he got sicker. When he died, he met the Lord and asked him, why didn't he cure him? The Lord replied, what, you didn't stop at the hospital I put on the street between you and the church? Eloise smiled and started to laugh at that. Jennifer continued, faith helps, and devotion can be wonderful, but if you can't rely on that alone, by all means, get some additional help. Eloise asked as an idea came to her, maybe someone who's also familiar with what's going on too, I guess, no matter how crazy you sound to them. Even if they've nothing to offer, it's more important that you get the weight off you than anything else. You're amazing. You're very chill in a crisis, you know. Jennifer just smiled and held up her hands briefly before she found a place on the edge of the couch to pray, her white bathrobe starting to pick up the first rays of dawn. Up until that moment, she did it. Eloise wasn't sure about confronting Duchamp, her art professor's TA and one of her leads in her investigation. As she stood in front of Popio, after the idea popped into her head while talking with Jennifer, she considered two likely possibilities of what would happen. One was that Duchamp would show her how crazy the idea was, that she was working with someone involved in a kidnapping. The other was that Duchamp would break down and spill her guts about the plot, and maybe even admit that there was a petrification plan going on. She went back and forth between both of these, occasionally entertaining other possibilities, like Duchamp laughing at her and Eloise cringing from embarrassment, or having Duchamp call campus security on her, or even that Duchamp was armed and would try and kill her. The only thing that didn't occur to Eloise as she started up the steps was that she shouldn't talk to her. She took a deep breath and a long sip from the tall coffee she picked up from Bugatti and went to her office. Duchamp was sitting at her desk, going over a pile of quizzes. "I'm sorry," she said without looking up, "but these were not handed to me until this morning by..." Eloise closed the door with a loud click, which made Duchamp look up from her desk. "I need to talk to you. It's very important. If it's an issue with your professor, I need to remind you about seeing your academic advisor if your professor isn't willing to meet with you. I'm actually here about this person," Eloise said, as she took out her phone and showed her the picture of the woman in the trench coat that Sophia took. "I've seen her on campus and in this office, and it's important that I know more about her." Duchamp's hands went down on her desk as she stared at the phone. "I think she's connected with the disappearances somehow. She's been seen walking through campus and around town, and you've met with her a few times. I even came to your office about 3 weeks ago and saw her as she left a meeting with you." Duchamp kept looking at the photo on Eloise's phone. "I really need to know more about her. These women who've disappeared, women who might be hurt, might still be hurting, and this person is the only lead anyone has. Whoever is taking these people, she's the best chance anyone has of finding them. We need to find her to get to the bottom of this." Duchamp nodded and asked, "Have you mentioned this to anyone else?" Eloise kept her mouth shut. "Do the police or campus security know about her?" Eloise waited her out. "It might not be safe for anyone if she knew they were onto her. It might not be safe for me if she thought I led them to her. Who is she? I can't be tied to her. I need to know who she is first. Once I know that, we can figure out how to go from there." Duchamp gave a slight gulp, then shifted her seat. "I don't know her name." "Really?" "No. All I know is that she's someone Professor Collot told me I should work with." "Collot? What are you working on with her with Collot?" "Collot introduced us before the semester began. She said I needed to work with her and that she'd be doing things on her behalf." "What kind of things?" "Posting flyers that looked like they were put up on behalf of the Fine Arts Department, making sure they had the same font and backgrounds. And because the department's flyers are pre-approved, they could go up without anyone needing to approve them, like they would for student associations." "But why?" "I only asked once. The woman who was doing it for Collot, I started asking questions, and she told me it wasn't safe to do that. And you know how difficult Professor Collot can be, so I couldn't ask her. But this woman who was working on her behalf, she gave me nightmares." "Go on." "The way she comes in, all business, a hint of threat in her voice. She's got this... It's like everything she does, there's an implied threat. But why her? What does she want? Why is Collot involved? Professor introduced her to me. She didn't tell me what she was doing for her. And all she does is come by with text for flyers to set up, with what to say and where to put them." "And you didn't question it?" "I didn't want to lose my position. And Collot has a lot of pull. And all I thought was that just doing posters for her, after Collot said she was doing this on her behalf, I didn't think much about it. Just another unpleasant part of dealing with her." "Any idea why she'd do that? Having this woman treat you like a copy boy?" Duchamp blinked in response. His thought of mild shock went through her. "I really didn't..." "Oh, crud. What?" "Collot. She was talking about the exhibit she's mounting. All the sculpture, all the... But that's ridiculous. It can't be." "What is?" "I mean, Professor Collot's left early for the weekend a few times, never saying where she's off to. And that story you wrote about the sculptures she sent out for the Sentinel on her... Oh my God, what are you saying? Her sculpting career, the casting she used to do. It sounds crazy, and I hope I'm wrong, but you can't let her know I led you to her. Please, I can't have her come after me." "Collot couldn't do anything to you, could she?" "I'm more worried about her agent, the other woman. I can sense death on her every time she comes here." Eloise took a moment to consider what to say. The worry in Duchamp's face, and what she told her and how it all fit together. "I can find some way to get them to look at Collot without bringing you into this," Eloise finally promised. "Somehow I will try." "Now how?" "First thing, I have to know more about what Collot's doing to them. If I can find something that I can bring to the police in town, what happened to everyone who's missing, they should be able to go for her and avoid you. Maybe the assistant she hired. If her boss is gone, she might run away without going after you. You think she might? It'd be stupid for her to do that. If she thought her employer was arrested, she'd likely want to be gone rather than stick around. Wow. I feel relieved when you put it that way. But what happens now? Now? Well, maybe... Can you keep a record of when you meet this person? Just do what you've been doing all along, but have notes about what flyers she's asking you to put up, time she came by. You wouldn't need to share it right away, but if anyone needed them, they could be forwarded. Anonymously, I hope. Yeah, you should be able. This might keep your name out of it, the way the cops are keeping quiet about the person who's told them about the Sophie Purdue statue. The what? It's something that made the news, about a statue that the cops in LA think might lead to clues in a missing persons case. Duchamp started using her laptop and called up another news article about the case in Los Angeles. This story had a picture of the statue the police confiscated, alongside a picture of Purdue taken around the time she disappeared. Eloise stared as she saw the pictures of the statue and the subject for the first time. The faces matched perfectly, the hair uncannily the same. She felt dizzy. Her stomach started to curdle and harden. While Eloise stared at the screen, she heard Duchamp mutter, "This looks like a Tier Pilar. That's weird," before she opened another window on her browser and started a separate search. Eloise didn't stick around to watch, heading outside in a hurry, checking desperately if her analyst had responded to her earlier text yet. Thank you.
Ooh, cool. Now we have to find out what happens. Yeah. Oh, that's really exciting. I also like how you read that, because that little interchange between the two of them, it was clear who was speaking at each time. So thank you for making differentiation there. That was cool.
Yeah, it was something I learned watching other people to say, getting into the character. And that's something I try and do every time I go into it. Hopefully it helps a little. I mean, when you think about it, originally when we were telling stories, we didn't always have to do it with writing. I mean, that's only since Gutenberg. Before that, people had to tell them vocally, and the only way they could do that is if they had the ability to switch voices there.
Yeah, there weren't so many he said, she said all there. Yeah.
And depending on the story, I mean, I feel sorry for the poor soul who had to try and tell the Aeneid, considering how many characters are showing up in that one.
Right, and how long can you listen and still keep track? Yeah.
Yes.
But here's an echo to what we just said. Angela Rico Smith points out, nice stopping point. I was totally caught up. So yeah, that's good. I think that's another great art for doing a reading, is to stop at a spot where we want more. So thanks. Yeah. Well, this is very cool, because I mean, this is a neat story. This is, to me, is like dark fantasy horror and a supernatural mystery all wrapped together. So what are your thoughts about mixing some genres together like that? How did you
Well, I'm not sure there is really such a thing as a hard genre per se. Many years ago, I got introduced to a book that was put out by University of California Press. It was a collection called The Science Fiction Stories of Jack London.
Oh.
Apparently, before he was Jack London wanted to be H.G. Wells. And it's only like 7 stories in that you actually see something set above the Arctic Circle.
Ah, okay.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen so many people who want to go outside their realm. I mean, Eye of the Dragon by Stephen King, SSGB by Len Deighton. People who say, I want to tell a story that's not necessarily what I'm known for, because I don't believe in branding, and nobody should believe in branding, frankly.
Yeah.
But
And look at how Arthur Conan Doyle got so sick and tired of Sherlock Holmes. Tried to kill him repeatedly.
Yeah, he gave us The Lost World, which is also a major founding document, because all of the other Lost World stories from the 30s and such all came out of that one.
Oh, I hadn't realized that. Oh, that's intriguing. Yeah. Well, that's pretty neat. So, and I know you have a bunch of different things as well. And I just want to, point out that it's fun because you and I share the table of contents in Ruth and Ann's Guide to Time Travel, which is really cool. And you have a nifty short story in there that's the rooftop session, but it has to do with the Beatles. And I happen to know that you and your lovely wife are very much into the Beatles. So is that?
Yes. As a matter of fact, we do presentations. We've given presentations at the Fest for Beatles fans, and we are both scheduled to give a discussion at the Everything Fab 4 Fest in Asbury Park in November, which is a conference dedicated to Rubber Soul.
Oh my goodness, that was one of my favorites. Yeah, yeah, cool. The nice swoosh on the cover. Yeah, but that's
Which
really
one? Which one, the British one or the American one?
yes.
I mean, that's one of the big things that are going to come up. Which version was better? Because you have the British one, which was what the Beatles had intended, and the American one, which was what Capitol just threw together. And somehow the Capitol version is a lot more accessible and embraceable than the original.
Oh, fun. Yeah.
So yeah, that's going to be. Hopefully we'll. A few people I know are going to discuss it. Hopefully they'll leave their arms at the door. So.
yeah. Let's hope it's all verbal discussion. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I got to do a Beatles story for one of the older anthologies, Across the Universe, the Tales of Alternative Beatles, and so I did them doing like mental time travel through the TV to connect with somebody trying to.
Oh yes, that's
yeah,
right.
yeah, it was fun.
One with the James Dio fan.
Yes. Oh, you're too good to remember these things. Yeah. But that actually leads into a question that we have from our audience. Nicholas Dyack asks, he says, you've done a story inspired by the Ramones for an anthology, but if you could do a story inspired by British punk of the 70s, what band would you do? Please let it be the Stranglers.
That's a tough one. I mean, there's a lot of good stories there, even just non-fictions. The Clash, of course, has a wonderful repertoire to work with. Adamant, but then he's done a lot of stuff on his own. There was actually a pilot for a time travel show he did in the 80s where he played the villain. So it's that's one that would take a little bit of time to figure out. I'm not sure I could give you a snap answer like that.
That's fair. Yeah, report back to us later. Yeah, I actually saw Adamant in concert one time, and he had a big tank of water on the stage, and for some reason he jumped in it. It was like, okay, cool. Yeah, didn't quite hang together, but that was just fine. Yeah,
sure.
Yeah,
he was doing a lot of pirate stuff, so
maybe. Do you like to have music inspire your work, your stories themselves? Like, or do you listen to music while you're writing?
There's always a certain amount of music. I think just about everything I do, I try and manage to put in at least one reference that people will trace back to the Beatles.
I'm not surprised by that. Yeah.
Yeah. In terms of listening, I will listen to a large number of things, and I'll stick with them for a bit, and then ultimately go back to Vivaldi because I actually like his stuff a lot. When
a lot of energy there. Yeah.
A lot of energy. A lot of when you follow the progressions on the bars, it just helps you to organize. I said, well, if he can get his crap together, I should be able to do.
I guess we could say that about a lot of people, but then we might feel bad. But yeah, well, I didn't know we were going to have a music-inspired show tonight, but this is really kind of cool. Yeah, that's neat. But I love the piece that you read, and I'm really intrigued to see what happens with these statues because that's really kind of creepy that they're matching, and wow, it's like yeah, cool. So well done. Yeah. So thank you for sharing your words. We'd love to have you come back at the end and talk to us a little bit more.
I'm looking forward to that. Thank you.
Yeah, that'd be very cool. All right, thanks so much. And what I'd like to do now is introduce our third reader. Paula Cappa is a multi-award-winning author of supernatural mysteries, ghost stories, gothic fiction, and dark fantasy. Cappa is the author of Drakensky, a supernatural tale of magic and romance, published by Crystal Lake Publishing. Drakensky recently won the gold at the Bookfest Book Awards, first place in gothic fiction. Also, novels Greylock, The Dazzling Darkness, and Night Sea Journey, print editions published by Crispin Books, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Kappa's short fiction has appeared in literary magazines such as the Lorelei Signal, Parabnormal Magazine, Coffin Bell Literary Journal, Smokelong Quarterly, Siren's Call E-Zine, The Unfading Daydream, Dark Gothic Resurrected Magazine. Now that is a great title. Whistling Shade Literary Journal, Everyday Fiction, Fiction 365, Twilight Times E-Zine, and in the anthologies, Journals of Horror, Found Fiction, Mystery Time, and Human Rights Literary Journal. For more about Paula Cappa, check out her link tree at pkappa9. Paula.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for coming to this tonight. I'm really pleased to be here. I'm going to be reading tonight from my novel Dragon Sky, a supernatural tale of magic and romance. I think it's backwards. This is a ghost story, and it's gothic thriller, romantic intrigue, and it has magical elements. So there's owl magic, there's tree magic, there's river magic. So it's just some dark fantasy mixed in there as well. I'll read you the quickie blurb here so you can get an idea. On Dragon Sky Windmill Estate, sketch artist Charlotte Knight is hired to live on the estate while she illustrates poetry for a powerful wind sorcerer. When Charlotte meets the seductive Mark Sexton, their romance leads her into a piercing journey through dark magical realms and secret forces from the ghostly other world. I'm going to read you the prologue, where you will meet the ghost of Dragon Sky, and chapter 1, where you will meet the wind sorcerer, Ja Morland, who is the lady of the estate. If there could ever be a dark whisper in the wind, I am that darkness. The town here is full of chatter about the murder. A quiet death, no screams heard, no cries for help. The chief of police found the woman's body in the Mianus River, her hands stiff, in an X over her chest. Killer unknown, cause of death undetermined. These days, I exist on the Dragon Sky estate near the Mianus River in Bedford, New York. The Mianus River churns inherently over 20 miles of fierce, rolling white rapids with treacherous rocky falls. I came forth at the conjuring with my jazzy voice in the autumn of 2021. I am no legendary figment or a Victorian in a black cloak who has trumped death. I don't swipe at chilly shoulders. I don't snap at faces. I remain thin as an elm leaf, absent its green color. When the village people see me, they veer away and twist their mouths. Since the conjuring on that dreary night, I learned to attach to earth, to weave myself into daily existence. Only then can I fling my voice, words shivering in the air. Still falls the rain on Dragon Sky, at present a winter rain. Paths along the river lead to Yew Crag, a mountainous terrain twisting into sudden cliffs and ravines. Yew trees are the oldest, all twists and hollow. An owl, the color of ashes, perches on an obliging limb. All he wants to do is fly the river until he becomes his own vanishing. In the past, I used to sit at my desk every morning by my window, sipping good coffee in a porcelain cup, my cherished solitude with pen and ink inside notebooks. Now I have learned the secret of death. Eyes extinguished, I can still see. Dead ears, I can still hear. Legs without muscles, I still walk. Most important, this disintegrated rib cage still holds my heart. I love the dark hours of my being. I remain watching the days turn like pages in a book in this garden of trees, river, sky, and rocky crags. Here I can find, as in old letters, the days of my life already lived. I have one urgent purpose: to make the darkness conscious. Chapter 1, Ghost Watching Dragon Sky. Ja Morland warmed her arthritic hands at the fire in the hearth. The winter dampness in Dragon Sky Windmill wrapped her in a pall. Rain pelted the capped roof and the steel-plated sails of the windmill. Their airfoil blades created vast circles. Like an ancient camel getting to its knees, Ja struggled up from the armchair. Alone, except for the presence of her ghost, she observed the dark eyes and the horribly bright cheekbones at the window. This ghost made no leaping sounds. It possessed no flailing skeleton. Still, Ja trembled at the thought a ghost watching her. She stepped up to the window pane streaming with rain. In the exterior floodlights, the cottage next door shone in a fine pearlescence. The young woman, an artist, would be arriving tomorrow night. Charlotte Knight was her name, and she would live on Drakensky to illustrate a book of poems. This pleased Ja to complete her sister's art book. On Ja's finger she turned the red garnet ring, her sister Haida's ring, the ring that Haida had worn on the day she died, on the day they found her in the Mianus River. Ja sat down in her chair, head up, trying to be strong. She raised her vision to the pane glass as shadows slipped, side to side to side. Dark eyes shone like gigantic raindrops, eyes that didn't blink. What did this ghost want? Why was it haunting her? Ghosts did not exist in linear time, but they did exist in circular time. The world was a circle, the moon giving rise to the sun, clocks, time running around itself, and the everlasting magician's circle of power. The ghost pressed its face against the window. Drakensky sails turned circles behind the head. Were the windmills circles manifesting this ghost? The quiet inside the windmill fell upon her, spreading wall to wall, stealing all the air in the room. A jazzy voice splashed. What is it? Are you afraid to look the dead in the face? So I have one more short piece I'm going to read, and it's The Wind Witch of Drakensky. This is the prequel to the story, and it takes place in the fall. I'm going to read you 3 quick minutes. It is about John Moreland on the night that Haida meets her death. In a parallel silence, Drakensky windmill spins its 4 sails, weaving unseen forces. A single whip of the darkening blue air snatches John Moreland's breath. She sways in time with the rotating sails, eyes tearing, wind shaking her hair. With a tilt of her head, she absorbs the windmill's magical circles. Drakensky Windmill is her home. Ja lives on the edge of the world, a sliver outside of time. Most locals like to call her a crone. Many don't know the well-kept secret of Ja Moreland, or they would call her the Wind Witch of Drakensky. Wind existed first, primal to all that exists on the planet. Ja appreciates this fact every day when she greets the wind beings who flow above the windmill. Wind beings are bringers of calm, bringers of knowledge, bringers of warnings. Ja has lived passionately by this mysterious power since childhood, when she spotted wind dragons gliding overhead on Drakensky, sleek entities who breathe out tongues of falling stars. Dragons are the protectors of the magical realms. This night, Drakensky's trees are gusting. The day lingers, a final blade of light on the river. Ja hears the stones cry out. Darkness stampedes into the forest, an omen. It is autumn on Drakensky. Beneath the crackling leaves falling make golden oak and red maple air. Ja waits for her sister to return from the vast wooded acres. Haida has been gone all day. All day. Haida has never been gone all day. Ja has counted the hours, growing increasingly sick with worry now that night is approaching. Has Haida fallen? Has she broken her hip? Is she stranded in some mud-soaked gully on New Craig? Haida, 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 where are you? What is happening? She considers walking the boardwalk to the Mianus River. Its echoing splashes might speak to her. The smacking falls, the reflecting water, the bubbling froth over the rocks might reveal something about Haida. River magic, a river beneath the river. All its inner rhythms, Ja knows such rhythms. Jah survives on such rhythms. We bid you to stay. These words come from the wind beings. The hot westerly zephyr brushes her face more vigorously now. Trusting their instruction to stay, Jah remains on the bench, inside the liminal space that is neither dark nor light, but full of shivering shadows. It's free on Amazon, 30-minute read. I invite you to download it. Thank you for listening.
Ooh, my fingers are going to do the walking for that one. That's really fun. That's such a clever idea to put a fun story like that available to help pull people into the story. That's very smart, Paul.
Well, to get them into your world, right? It's
Yes.
like they come and check it out. That's great.
Yeah, it's getting a lot of downloads. It's getting some good reaction. I'm having a good time with it.
Well, that's great. And based on what you're saying about circular time, once they're in that story, they're never getting out, right?
The magical circle, right?
Yeah, that's really fun. Well, I'm excited to see so much more Gothic literature and Gothic kind of stuff coming along. I think this is really a tremendous subgenre and whatever. And
It is having, it's having another day. I mean, I think it goes through waves where it becomes popular and then it kind of fades away and then it becomes popular again.
yeah, well, as a younger person, I read so many books with a woman in a white nightgown on the cliff with a castle behind her and the moon overhead, which they're all awesome, But this is a different take, with the magic and the nice darkness.
Yeah, we're mixing genres. Yeah, dark fantasies in there. There's witchcraft in there. A wind sorcerer. It's a little bit different from the other stuff that has been out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But Paula, what led you in this direction as a writer?
I think I just love the mystery of ghosts and supernatural elements and supernatural powers. I'm just always, there's so much in nature that is exciting to me. And I always feel that anything that has a power greater than what we have is something we should learn about. Mm. And there is that out there. There's other powers beyond what we can do and what we know. Yeah. So I've always liked to read those kind of stories, and then I started writing them during high school and college years, kind of thing, and then it really took off for me.
Mm. Cool.
Very interesting. Yeah. So it was you enjoyed it as a reader.
Yes, the mystery. I just love what we don't know. That's exciting to me.
I have a personal feeling that virtually every story talking about multiple genres has to have some kind of mystery in it, because if there isn't something that we don't know, why would we read the book? But I love when you're focusing on it as the main point of the thing, because there's so many great ways to take a story and go back and forth and tease the information and let people maybe figure a little bit out, right?
Yes, it is. I didn't know how this book was going to end. I don't write, I don't plot things out. I don't make outlines. I just start with the characters. I develop the characters first, and then I just start letting them perform on the page. So in many ways, this story was told to me by the characters.
Interesting. So do you have a process for developing characters? I met a writer, for example, who used a tarot deck and would do readings to help shape the personality of the characters for a book. Do you do anything like that, or do you just sort of let them?
Well, this story started from my walks in a cemetery. Mm. So there's a cemetery not far from my house, and I would always walk there. And there was this headstone there with the name Drakensky on it. Oh. And for some reason, I just kept always going over to that headstone and looking at that, and that became the name of the property. And then somehow I felt like there were witches around me. There was some kind of windy witch behind me as I've been walking. Mm-hmm. So that's how I found Jah Moreland. I tend to let the imagination introduce me to who the character is.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's a little scary sometimes. It's like, right. What is that?
As long as you're always coming home from those walks in the cemetery every night, that's important.
Yes. Yes.
And I was noticing that you're somewhere in the middle of New York State, and this book takes place there too. So I was wondering if it was inspired by things near you. So that's
Yes. Well, Bedford. I live in Pound Ridge, but Bedford is the next town over.
okay.
And the reason it's in Bedford is because river magic started happening, and I needed to put this windmill near a river, and there wasn't really any around in Pound Ridge that were famous enough or big enough for it. So I started spending time in Bedford a lot more and driving around thinking, is there a windmill around here or something that I'm supposed to find? But yeah, Bedford, it's got a little village. There's about 25,000 people that live there. Pound Ridge has only got about 4,000 or 5,000. So there was a lot more to pull from in that town.
Yeah.
Interesting. We have a question from the audience. This is from Nicholas Dyack. What do you prefer, high epic fantasy in the Tolkien style or heroic fantasy in the sword and sorcery style?
I guess I'm kind of more low fantasy, the real spooky stuff, the mix of the dark fantasy with ghosts. And I'm not into the sword and sorcery that much. I haven't read too much of the epic. But I do love the historical part that happens too. So I just love when this is the first time I wrote about magic. Most of my other stories are strictly ghost stories or phantoms or something like that, more traditional. So this kind of breaks through what I have been doing in the past. And even my short stories are more typically ghost short stories. But when you start involving magic with the horror element and ghostly stuff, it becomes something else. I don't know what you call it, romantasy, horror romantasy, stuff like that. But this is more low fantasy. A dark fantasy reader might be attracted to it, but I think it wouldn't be enough magic for them probably.
Interesting. Yeah, and as I was reading the question from Nicholas, I was thinking, really sounds like you've created your own sort of fantasy, with everything you're blending together and your approach. You've created kind of, your unique take on the genre.
It's very different from what's out there.
Yeah.
And trying to, when you pitch it for marketing and things like that, I say, well, who is your book like? Well, there isn't any. I don't know of any authors that are, have written this kind of stuff like I have. So I'm kind of off the beaten track with this mix that I have. Yeah. But it happened very naturally on the page from the characters. So I felt really strong that this is right. This is working.
Yeah. You have to follow the characters in the story where it takes you.
Yes.
And maybe we can just dub it Kappa to see. Yeah. PAULA CAPPA. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned romantasy, and I understand that that's huge right now. That romance books are just selling very well. Yeah. I haven't read any, and I don't know all the conventions of the genre, but definitely sounds like if your work falls into that category at all, it's a very dark take on it.
Yeah, it's kind of on the perimeter of it, but it does have that element in it. Yeah, I guess a true romantasy reader would find this different than what they've been reading. So it doesn't fulfill it entirely because it is on the perimeter.
Do you anticipate doing a lot more in this setting, this world?
Yeah, I actually have a sequel coming out April. It's called Secret Mysteries of Wolf Magic. And it's the same characters. It's Charlotte and Mark Sexton, and it's their story. It's more Mark's story. This one, the first book is more Charlotte's story. This is more Mark's story, and it gets into a lot more historical things. But yeah, that's coming. I'm also working on some short stories about the character. A wedding between Charlotte and Mark, and it's a ghost wedding. So that's kind of happening. And that's fun. I'm also doing another short story on Ja Moreland. So it's going to be more about her experience with dragons, sky dragons and wind dragons.
Ooh.
So yeah, there's a lot that they're feeding me. I feel like I'm being fed all this information.
Well, it sounds like a really rich world for sure.
Yeah.
I haven't. I can't wait to get my fingers into it. So that's going to be cool. Yeah. Neat. My goodness. what do you think? Let's go find James and bring him back on to chat a little bit. Thank you for sharing your words, Paula.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It was a nice
Okay.
piece, Paula.
James, welcome back to the.
Thank you. And that was a really good piece, Paula. I really appreciated you sharing that with us.
Oh, thank you.
I agree. Yeah. And like I said, we have 3 very different things tonight. So this is very cool. You know, so.
And I'm just going to interject for a second because I think it took Carol mentioning the Beatles earlier for me to actually figure out what your shirt is that you're wearing. And at glance, I thought, oh, it's the Mystery Machine from Scooby-Doo, and it's the Scooby Gang, and now I see that it is the Beatles.
Yeah, this is a very limited run. Limited in that somebody put it out and then had to pull it quickly before one of the 2 IP owners C&D'd them to death.
Whoops. Yes.
Yeah. But it looks like there's a dog in there with the Beatles, and I can't.
That's Martha.
Oh, okay.
Remember, Martha was Paul's dog, who actually gets a song dedicated to her on the White Album.
Oh, okay.
All right. Very cool.
Well, that's terrific.
Mhm.
So, Paula, you've already told us you have one coming, something coming out in April, the next one in this. Do you have any other appearances that you're doing or anything else coming up?
You know, I have this new project that I started. I was looking for a national Gothic reading month, and there is one out there. And I've asked a lot of people about it, and I said, well, I'd love to start one, and everyone discouraged me. They kept saying, oh, well, you know, it's very expensive, and you got to get a website and a logo, and it's an enormous amount of work. And you really, you know, for one person to do this is a really big deal. Well, I kept asking around. I found a sponsor who is going to sponsor, we're calling it Global Gothic Reading Month. We've decided to do it in January. And the sponsor is the Society for the Study of the American Gothic.
Oh,
and
wow.
they're located at Michigan University. So this is really exciting to me because I've got a little committee together from the members of that organization. And we're getting a logo designed, and we're going to put up a website. So they're going to help us out with that. I'm so thrilled because we have to do the legwork, but they're going to put it together.
Awesome. Oh, that's the best of all worlds.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think we need one. We would love to have a Gothic reading month. It's just kind of falling into the October ghostly Halloween stuff, but it gets lost in all that stuff. So I think having it in January is another good time. You know, we were trying to figure out what's the best month, but January is a good month. Edgar Allan Poe's birthday is in there, so we might use a little bit of Poe stuff. But yeah, that's the newest thing, and it is taking a lot of work.
I'm sure.
It is, and I have a committee of about 5 people. So we're all sharing everything we can do. So I'll keep you all informed when it gets all finalized.
I was about to say that. Yes, we want to know more. Yeah, I remember you've been asking and talking about it, and I'm so excited to hear that something's coming together.
Yes, I asked Ellen Datlow about it, and she said, "Oh my God, you've got a really tough job ahead." So, and it is. There's a lot to decide, and there's legal things too. So you have to do everything right. So I'm so glad we have a sponsor.
Yeah.
Well, and it's a great way to focus on that genre. I think a lot of horror people look at Gothic fiction and Gothic literature, but Gothic literature is bigger than horror. Not all Gothic literature is horror. And so this is a way to kind of really show what the genre is about on its own, standing on its own. So that's amazing. Congrats.
I've had a lot of good reaction to it. Everyone was very, oh, you should definitely do it. Find a way to do it. So, and I've been thinking about this for almost a year. So finally it's come together. It does take a long time to plan. So thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
That's great.
So James, what do you have coming up that we can keep an eye out for?
On the 22nd, I have a story that's appearing in a new anthology that drops that day. The anthology's name is Toil and Trouble. And it's an anthology about romances, which I guess sort of flows in from one to the other, that involves creatures of a supernatural sort along with humans. And I have a piece in there, Ivy, Lichens, and Wallflowers, which is at its heart is a romance, even though it involves such strange creatures as sorceresses and influencers.
Huh. That's cool. That's an interesting mixture there.
Thank you.
That's very nice.
Cool. Yeah.
And you have a Beatles event coming up that you mentioned.
Yes, that's in November. Before that, I have a reading in Philadelphia on October the 11th. It's the Tomes and Tequila event that'll be in the city. I have more data about it I'll be putting more about it on social as we get closer to it. But,
Excellent. That's a great name.
And tequila, yes, I love it. Maybe we'll have to do grimoires and gin.
yeah.
Romance and rum. I don't know. We could keep going here.
Rooms and rum.
Rest and rum. I like that.
Let's see.
Rooms and rum, I like that too.
Yeah, I'm just going to suggest if you're going to Tomes and Tequila, you book a room to stay over. Don't drive home.
No, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
It's funny. They have a big thing that says there's never been a good story that started with a salad, and I actually have one. If I could convince them to let me share it, I might.
Well, now we all want to know. All right, you're going to have to come back and tell us that story.
Yeah.
Yeah, but wait a minute. I just this is an interesting question. Angela, are there other genres besides horror? I don't know.
Thank you, Angela.
Apparently there are, yes.
For now there are, but horror is slowly creeping into all the other genres and taking over until it's like the thing that's going.
It's like the prophecy said. We're living in a time when sex and horror are the new gods.
Oh,
okay.
Okay.
There we go.
Frankie Goes to Hollywood picked it up perfectly.
I was going to ask who prophesied that, so that sounds about right.
That's funny. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, Jim, how about you? What do you have coming up?
Oh, no, not too much I can announce at this point. I have a lot of projects kind of rolling along and hoping to have a busy year next year and have some stuff coming out. And no news on events at the moment. I have something cooking in October that hopefully I'll be able to announce next time.
Ooh. Yeah. October is such a busy month for Halloween people. Yeah. I'm excited to share that I have a short story coming out in an anthology from Celestial Echo Books, who did the one that Jim and I were in together, Ruth and Ann's Guide to Time Travel. And this one is called Behind the Revolving Door, an anthology of choices. That's coming out on October 1. And we're going to do a launch and a reading at PhilCon, which is a sci-fi speculative fiction convention outside of Philly in South Jersey in November. So that's going to be fun.
Oh, that sounds good. Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah. So that's exciting. And then I'm going to the C3 convention, which is Creatures, Crimes, and Creativity in a few weeks. And that's really fun because that's like we're saying, it's a mixture of genres. Yeah. There's a lot of mystery people. There's speculative fiction. There's some romance folks. So that's really cool too.
Yeah. Wow.
Fantastic.
And we have some other things coming up within our Galactic Terrors. We have a special show coming up next month. Yeah, not the usual second Thursday like we usually do. This is going to be on the fourth Thursday. And in this one, we've got Ellen Datlow's new anthology, Night and Day. And her contributors are going to be coming in to read with us as well. And we have Jeffrey Ford and A.T. Greenblatt and Clay McLeod Chapman coming in to read. So it's going to be really fun. And I should have brought it over. I don't have it nearby. Where did it go? It's a really cool book because it's not here. The cover of it, it's stories the horror stories that take place in the night, and the one cover says night, and then you flip it over, and the other one is day. It's horror stories that take place in the day, and it's like those old-fashioned books where one set of the stories comes from the beginning to the end, and you flip it over, and it comes backwards from the other side. So, it's really cool.
That's fun. Yeah.
Looking forward to sharing about that.
Yeah.
And then we actually have our next show set up for November as well. We've got 3 authors and 3 new books. We've got Rebecca Baum, Teal James Glenn, and Philip Fracassi coming on.
That sounds nice.
Yeah, so everybody mark your calendars. Yeah, that's right. Horror, like the old days doubles. Yeah. So cool. So that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I hear rumors that next month is Halloween.
It is, yeah.
Who told you?
Jim told me 50 days. Yeah.
Oh.
Better 50 than 7.
We should talk to Ellen about having everyone come on in costume for the next.
Yeah, that's a good one.
If she can hear that, she's going no.
Yeah, that could be very true. Oh wow.
Yeah. Well, just a reminder to sign up for our newsletter, and we'll put that in the chat. I think I'll put that in the chat. There we go.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate that.
So that you can get all this good information as we go forward.
In a concise and easily digestible version.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for the two of you for coming on and sharing your words with us.
For having me.
This was
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you
Nice
for
to meet
having me.
you, James, and James to see you again. Thank you, Carol.
Yes.
Yeah, terrific. All right, everybody. Well, it's a great time of year to enjoy the cooler weather, but right now it's getting warmer here in New York, so I don't know what to think about that. So.
Well, here it was nice today, so hopefully it's not going to warm up too much.
Yeah.
But
And thank you to everybody for joining us and listening in.
thank you all,
Thank
and
you.
we'll see you again next
Good
month.
night.
James and Paula, thank you so much, and everyone take care.
Good night.
Oops.